is the Dubplate Special Master.
Live and direct.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.
What's happening, people? It's just gone at 33 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. We're back inside the building. It is the interview hour here on Breakfast with KXVU as we continue to explore different artists from different backgrounds and different genres from around the UK and everywhere else, to be honest with you. Today, we're going to be having a conversation with someone I'm a massive fan of, someone we support quite heavily here on Trickstar, and someone whose music is always expressive, it's always different, and it's always something that we love to play here on the show. A man like Jelani Blackman is on the line. How are you doing, sir?
Yo, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's great to get you on the show. I've been saying for a few weeks, I've been looking forward to getting into a conversation with you when we've been able to actually lock it in. I've seen on the Insta, obviously, you've been moving in. How's all that going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It was a very intense year, so it's nice to be somewhere new and feeling good.
That's what we like to hear, man. It really is great to get you on the line. Obviously, over the last kind of year or so, as you were saying, it has been a very intense kind of time, obviously, both through the sort of global situation that is going on and obviously with yourself. You've been having somewhat of a kind of killer run with the releases you've been on. Do you want to kind of talk me through your year from a kind of musical point of view?
Yeah, so, I mean, it basically was let's keep it alive and let's keep it running, and it just worked. It was nice to be able to have, obviously, Hello and things like that moving through. One of the things that I missed is being able to do it around people and be live, but I guess it's nice having those tunes backed up now where people kind of know them, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out and doing them again.
100%, man. I mean, this is the thing that I've kind of noticed with yourself over the last year. It seems to be to me that you are so kind of able to move around different sorts of sounds and styles to the point where you are able to keep the listeners, they'll sort of know what they're going to get, but every single time there's something a little bit different about it. Do you want to kind of talk me through how you choose what instrumentals to work with? Because they seem to be so varied each and every time.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a lot to do with just the energy of the day, to be honest. Like, I don't really just get beats and jump on them. I work in studio. Like, I prefer to work with producers that I produce myself. So, it always feels better to me when you're in the room. You kind of get the vibe of what the person's on, and so that's why it feels different every time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to choose this beat, I'm going to choose that beat. It's more to do with what happens at the time.
That makes sense, man, and I feel to an extent that is definitely the best way to do it. And obviously, with yourself, something that is very, very notable with the recordings you bring, you do have a very unique voice. You have a voice which is able to kind of travel across the lower ranges and really, really bring something that sounds very unique with what you do. With that, like, how do you kind of build the tracks you're working with? Because obviously, you do have a very kind of a low-ended voice with your sort of recording style. Do you ever find that kind of difficult working with the sort of bassier side of instrumentals, because obviously you have to make sure the vocals still come through very, very clearly?
Yeah, it's not straightforward. It's quite, I guess, the thing that I initially wanted to do, if I'm honest, and I still love doing, is I love singing. So that was what, initially drew me to music. But then my voice was not the easiest for that. So it was using it in a way that made sense, basically, and yeah. So it's always not necessarily a challenge, but it's always an experiment to see the best way to make a song work.
100%, and some of the results this year especially have been amazing. We were saying just then off air, like, I've been following what you've been doing since Follow dropped a long time ago now, and it definitely feels like your sort of sound has evolved over that period of time. Like, what has kind of influenced, I suppose, the kind of growth of your sound? Like, who have you been listening to? Who have you been taking in? And what do you feel has kind of driven your sound forward?
I'm just happier. I'm happier. Like, I wasn't particularly happy when I was making music in that period of time. Like, I love those tunes and they still are important to me, but yeah, I was a different person. I was in a different situation, and it just my energy was very, very different. So it just felt like a natural progression to just be happier and easier, and I think it comes across. And that was literally it. I just changed as a person, which people kind of take for granted. I think sometimes with music is a lot to do with the way you are as a person at the time.
100%, yeah, and I think that is something, the way you've kind of described it there, it definitely makes sense, that sort of transition. More than anything else, I feel there's just a bit more kind of, I feel there's just a bit more kind of expression in what you're doing in regards to like how things come across to the listener, and there is definitely that evolution available for people to listen to. We opened up with a tune today called Average Joe, and that one got a fair bit of response as well. Talk to me about that tune, because that's one we've been playing regularly here on The Breakfast Show.
Nice. So, you know, actually, it's really interesting you say that. So, I feel like there's a tune from the Average Joe EP, which they all came at the same time, but it's called Brixton. And for me, it was a bit of a turning point, because I'm not, like, despite the fact that I make music and I put myself out, I'm a bit shy. Like, I'm not the most open person, so Brixton was a turning point for me, because then I said stuff that I never ever would have said before. Like, it was very exposed, it was quite raw, it was about me, and before I'd been quite abstract with all the things I'd written. So maybe that's what you picked up on is that with the Average Show EP, I just started talking about me as opposed to talking about like emotion and other things in a more abstract sense, and it became more personal, and I think people connected to that, because it did just become way more about who I was. An Average Joe is like the definition of that. I was just kind of like, okay, cool, well, I talk about how I feel. Like Nobody's Son, Average Joe, all of those tunes, they're very personal to me.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Brixton as a tune as well, that was one that we did have on repeat, like literally repeat on the show. We've got a guy called Duke Sky who does the Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and literally it would be on my playlisting for the first hour, and then it would be on his playlisting for the first hour as well. It was one of those tunes that we just couldn't get enough of, and I definitely agree. That sounds like it was a bit of a turning point in the way you were building sound, and that definitely came across from a kind of fan's perspective, I suppose. And what we're going to do, we are going to move forward now and get into a conversation about a tune which I absolutely adore, and again I feel this may well be a turning point. You can let me know, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this one, but it goes by the name of Nature or Nurture, and obviously this was featured on Future Utopia's album alongside Gets, who for me is one of the sort of living legends of UK music right now. How was it putting this together?
It was sick. It was sick. It was amazing. It was unexpected, and the whole process was a bit of it was a bit of a madness, but I loved every part of it, and being able to be like, that's me and Gets and Fraser. That's it's just amazing.
100%, man. I mean, it is an absolute belter of a tune. We are going to get into this one right about now. Just so people are aware as well, we are going to get into some more conversation afterwards, and we're going to talk more about the new single, which is obviously the thing that is doing absolute bits right now. But for people that aren't aware, how can people find you on different social media platforms?
Just search my name. It's Jelani Blackman. One thing is that there aren't that many of me, so like just put my name in and I'll come up.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. We're going to jump into this one right about now. It's just gone 20 to 10 here on Trickstar Radio. Keep it locked and don't go anywhere, my friends. It's Breakfast with Kovu, and we are in conversation with the one and only Jelani Blackman. Don't go anywhere. There we go. We're back inside the building. It's just gone 9:45 here. Trickstar Radio. A massive shout out to all the locked in crew. It's Breakfast with Kovu, and we are on the line with, I can safely say, one of my favourite artists in the UK right about now, Mr. Jelani Blackman is on the line with us. How's your morning, sir?
Yo, yeah, it's good, man. It's good. I'm feeling good. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. It's great to get you on the line, and more than anything, move into the topic of conversation, which we get to talk about next, which is, of course, the brand new single, Pattern. So, from a listener's perspective, when we first heard this one land here at the station, we were kind of going, this is something very, very different, but I'm loving the direction you're kind of going in with it. Like, talk to me about the sort of evolution into finding this sort of sound, I suppose.
I guess it was always there. Like I always wanted to have a tune out like this. If anybody like digs a little bit deeper, you'll hear that it's actually not that. It's not that much of like a departure, or it's not that weird. Like I've been making music like this for ages, but it's just not the music that people know from me for the last year. So that's it. I always feel like in the summer I've always missed out on having a tune that I'd like to listen to myself. So that's where it came from, and it was just vibes. And funnily enough, it was the most recent song that I made, as in I wrote. So yeah.
So it tied up quite nicely, and it's definitely got that. It's definitely got the summer feel to it. Obviously, it's got those sort of rhythms that are involved with it. There's a lot of kind of percussive elements in there as well. When you're writing a tune, something along these sort of lines, obviously with that idea of summer being in mind, like do you kind of switch up the process when it comes to writing, or do you have a sort of situation where you kind of repeat the same process? Like how do you write a tune? Essentially, is what I'm asking.
That's a great question. I think it depends. It depends what the song is. Like, if it's a song that just feels like it just needs energy and buzz, then I'll just write to that. But if it feels like I want to develop it into a more songwriting process, I just write, if I'm honest, and I think that's probably why things end up sounding so different sometimes. Is that like I'll get in the studio and write, as opposed to think this needs to sound like this needs to sound like that. Yeah, and that's exactly why things end up sounding different depending on what mood I'm in.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I think that's a good thing personally, because it means you are getting almost like the full breadth of your character out across these different creations. And obviously, with this tune, it landed, I believe, last week. I think it landed on a Monday or a Tuesday, I think it was, if I'm right in thinking.
Yeah, it landed last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday, yeah. I mean, how was the response to it? Because obviously, in general now, you tend to find that most things land on a Friday. How did you find releasing it midweek? Did you find any difference in the way it came out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you know what? It's a really niche comparison, but I was just saying, and the one thing that I feel at the moment, and I miss so much, and I think people can take for granted, is there's this thing in Jurassic Park where they feed the dinosaur, but they only feed it with a metal hook, and it's in isolation, and it can't get out. And so the only relationship that the dinosaur has is eating via this metal hook, and they're like, that's proper unhealthy. He's going to go mad. And so for me personally, the only relationship I have with music at the moment is via my phone. And I feel it's very unhealthy. So I haven't really had a chance to experience any of this, like any of the music that I put out, because it's great, and I'm very appreciative of the support, and I love seeing stuff, but it is numbers and it is faces. It's not in real life. It's like it's not doing it. So I don't feel like I really have engaged, whether it's midweek, whether it's a Friday or a Saturday or a Tuesday. Like, none of it is particularly relevant until I can play again. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, fully. 100%. I mean, I think with that as well, it does drive me on to like the sort of final thing I did want to discuss, which is obviously with moving back into live performance being a thing, which is we hope to be around the corner. What element of that are you looking forward to most?
Oh, just being there. Like, literally just, it feels like you're really making music when you play it live. For me personally, it's always been my favourite.
So that sort of so when we look at that sort of live element, then what would your sort of preferred style of live be? Then would you say you're more of a kind of big stage kind of person? Would that be the environment you would enjoy, or do you prefer a more sort of intimate sort of setting?
Ooh, I like both. I mean, the more the merrier. but it is also nice when it's, I guess, intimate and everyone is sweaty and bouncing off the walls.
Right, well, there's one more thing I did want to ask just before we get into running this new single and we do round off for the day. Obviously, something big that happened this year was your Colours performance, which did a lot of numbers. I saw a lot of people posting about it that I hadn't seen necessarily posting about your stuff before. How was the response to it from your end?
I mean, it was amazing. it was that has been a highlight, and yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't stress how much it meant to have that response to that song, and it felt like kind of justification for what people have been saying to me for a long time, which is that live is your thing. People should see you live, and it's like, yeah, I always felt that, but it was really nice to have people actually see me live and it'd be everywhere, because that's what it was for me, and I had a lot of pent up energy to go off on that. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Amazing, man. Well, it was wicked to see, and obviously seeing that progression, as someone that's been watching you for quite a long period of time, seeing that progression and seeing more and more people become aware of you and what you're doing and kind of appreciating what you're doing, it's so sick to see. And honestly, I want to wish you all the best of luck for 2021. Again, from a big fan's perspective, it's great to see everything you're doing, man. I want to wish you the best with everything you're doing. We are going to round off there. Have you got any other words to say before we finish up?
No, just thank you, bro. Thanks for having me. So it's been nice to chat.
Each and every time, man. It's great to get you on the show, and we're going to make sure we do keep supporting the new bits. My friends, please do make sure you are checking out the new single from Jelani Blackman. It goes by the name of Pattern. It is out now, and we're going to get into this one right about now. This one will be the last one from me. We're going to jump into a tune from Idris after that, and then we are going to round off and hand you over to the very capable hands of Romana Imi. It's just gone 53 minutes past 9 here on the Big Bad Trickstar Radio. It's Breakfast with KXVU. I'll be back same time tomorrow morning. That is 7 till 10 in the AM, so keep it locked and don't go anywhere, my friends. It's Breakfast with KXVU. Oh, yes.
This is Breakfast with KXVU, bringing you their morning flavours on Trickstar Radio.
Trickstar Radio.